Okay.
Hey there. Welcome back to another episode of the Musician's Personal Development Podcast. Will has changed up the music on me. So I'm CC Bass.
And I am Wil Cameron.
And we are two seasoned musicians here to bring you the best actionable tips to help you get to your best musician self.
Absolutely.
And today we are going to talk about self-discipline.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. So, but before we get into it, as always, make sure you hit subscribe at the bottom there. And you can like us on Facebook at MPD Podcast and also on Instagram at MPD Podcast. Right. So, self-discipline, what is it? Why are we talking about it? Well, you've probably heard me say this before, that playing an instrument is a lot of muscle memory. A lot of it is muscle memory, but a lot, even more so, is mindset. So to get to a good mindset, we need some kind of discipline. And this is something I discovered actually not too long ago. But when I started applying self-discipline and mindset to music, I found that my playing actually took on a whole nother level in itself. And so here today to show you or explain to you and share the story that how I got here and what worked for me and what has worked for Will. So self-discipline, how I'll tell you how I came across this. It was a few years back. I found myself in a place where I was mentally backed up against the corner, and I just kind of felt that I wasn't really kind of getting the growth I needed, or I kind of felt like I was in a mental rut, if that makes any sense. And not necessarily music-wise, because I kind of actually was taking a break from music at the moment. This was actually during the shutdown. And so what I did, somebody told me about this program called 75 Hard. Now, if you've never heard of it, I'm not trying to promote the program or anything like that. It's just something I came across, and I learned more about it and learned that it was actually a mental toughness program. And that really piqued my interest because, just to explain a little bit what 75 Hard is. So for 75 days, you have to work out twice a day for 45 minutes each. One has to be outside, and it doesn't matter what the weather is, you still have to get it done.
Wait now. Is this when you were taking those like freezing cold showers and stuff?
Yes. Okay, but I'm going to tie it back to how it relates to music here in a second. But so I had to read 10 pages of a self-development, personal development book a day, had to take a selfie, had to stick to a diet of choice. You had to set the parameters up front. You couldn't change it along the way. And there's something else. Oh, you had to drink a gallon of water a day. Now, I will tell you that why this piqued my interest, because I learned that it wasn't a health challenge. It was actually a mental challenge. And that the mind, it always wants to play that game of cutting corners. And with this, you could not cut corners. And it was all about accountability and taking ownership. So I had actually gotten to day 20 and forgot to take a selfie of me. I got everything done, but forgot to take a selfie of me. I woke up the next morning and I was kicking myself, because what happened is I had to start all the way at day one, back at day one. And so I could have easily told, hid and not tell anybody and just say, hey, what, I'm finishing the 75 Hard, but my mind would not allow me to do that. My mind would not let me to continue going. And that's what the whole point is. It's not about trying to impress anybody or anything. It's all about getting that mental toughness. And so I finally got through the 75 Hard. I actually went above and beyond. They actually have I think it's I forget what they call it, where you go, you do it sporadically throughout the year. But anyway, the point is that the mental toughness or that I got in the discipline was just invaluable. So that's what I reaped from that, and I started applying that to music, and realized that how much mindset played a part of music. And so here's what happened when I started applying it to music. Preparation, I got better at being prepared for every rehearsal and every performance. And I also it helped me with reducing my procrastination. That's another thing. With self-discipline, it helps with eliminating procrastination. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. And then two, it helped with my confidence. It's all these things help with confidence. And it also helped me get rid of that negative dialogue that I have when I used to walk into rehearsals and to performance settings. I no longer started telling myself, I just hope I get through this gig. Oh gosh, man, I hope I'm good enough. I'm just really nervous. I always try to stay steps ahead. And working the self-discipline and mindset piece that I'm working on this gig and I'm going to knock it out the ballpark. And that's what I'm telling myself. And so that's why I figured I would share the self-discipline and the mindset piece with you today. So what are your experiences, Will?
I remember that. So we weren't doing this back then.
Right.
And I was doing something different. It's interesting how our lives are so parallel. I had found another way. I was not struggling because my job didn't stop. So I still had normalcy. But I felt bad because I saw so many of my other musicians friends struggling. And so I worked to try to get other people to do things and to use my blog site to help people. And I noticed you would say, how did I remember the ice cold showers and things like that? I can't remember. We had some kind of informal exchange during the time, and I just thought, what on earth is she doing now? But I know that you always have reasons for what you do, so I didn't question it. I just knew it was on the path to getting you to something that you needed to do. And I really enjoyed that story. I hope our listeners enjoy that story as well, because it talks about how regulating one's self and making small changes to one's life helps to bring about an order to improve oneself. And so, but that's great. And when you apply it, I actually thought about a sports example, because musicians don't compare themselves to each other. It's hard to say who the best flautist or the best bassist is. But so using sports as an example, Michael Jordan and Serena they have first name status. Everybody knows who they are. And one of the things that we can have in common with them is like that sense of self-discipline that they have as elite athletes. And if you look at them, or pretty much any other athlete, you will see this very, very focused discipline in what they do, because they don't accidentally stumble into greatness or being the best that they can. In fact, Michael Jordan, during an interview, shared a comment that he said he could have even been better, but he didn't have the self-discipline at that time to not smoke cigars, because he likes cigars, and not go to McDonald's. So he even found ways that if he had more discipline, he could have been better. So I think this is a very appropriate discussion, if not just for music, for those elements in life or within your infrastructure that just helps you to be a better person, which is going to lead to you being a better musician as well.
Right.
So,
and I'm glad you used that example of the sports in the sports arena, because it shows that it's not all just about what's happening in music. This all ties in, and I've always followed stories about ultra successful, and I love a good story of overcoming and how people stay disciplined, and apply it to my own life. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So you, I've got a couple of tips, but let's roll with the ones that you've got. Let's hear what you've got for your number one.
I will tell you what I use and what helps keep me focused. And I did this thing with 75 Hard. They say that. So my first tip, I'll just say this, is establish a habit. You want to first do that. And there's a saying about, it takes 60 to 90 days or something to establish a habit. even with 75 hard, there's some things I kept up, and that was years ago. Some things I didn't, that kind of fell by the side. But one thing that I always do is read 10 pages of a personal development book. So I'm always getting that in. But the point is to, when you establish that habit, you want to keep at it every day. So let's just say, for example, you want to, for 30 days, you want to practice 30 minutes, and so you can achieve such and such goal, or you're just trying to get into a habit. 30 days may not be enough, but you want to start someplace. So you want to make sure that you're actually practicing that 30 minutes. Challenge yourself to do that, and not a second less. Even if you start a timer to do that, because as soon as you cut that corner, that might just start play with your mind. So that the point is to get into a habit of not cutting corners, and that really is what to grab out of that. So you can start applying that what you gain from that to other areas.
That's very good.
Yeah, if 60 or 90 days is too hard for you, I personally say just go in. But if that's too much, maybe start with a week and then maybe expand, and celebrate the wins. Celebrate the little wins. So if you got through a week of 30 minutes of practice, celebrate that win, and then challenge yourself. Okay, what's that next thing? Let me expand that to 60 or 90 days.
I love that, staying positive. That is so much. Again, that goes back to the mindset, but that remaining positive, that is very important. That's actually my number one too. For those more experienced musicians who play a ton and don't have time to practice, one of my pro musician buddies shared this tip with me, sort of like what you're saying, CC. He said, "Okay, Will, I know you're busy. I know you're playing with all these different bands and doing all this stuff, but he said, take 5 minutes before you're practicing your material for your session. Take 5 minutes out of that and work on something for yourself, and let that 5 minutes make a habit of working on something just for you for that 5 minutes." And I started doing that and was like, wow, why didn't I think of that? So,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's great, and thank you for sharing that. So
what else you got?
Yeah, so the second one here is to clear distractions. Getting rid of things is just as important as putting things in your life. We always talk about how busy we are, we don't have time for this. Well, just look at what you're doing, where your priorities are. If it's now to fit in the 30 minutes of practice time a day, again, I'm just using that as an example. Look at what you might need to sacrifice or set aside for those 30 days in order to make that happen. So it's just as important. So everything needs to align with those priorities and that why, what you're trying to do, and so you can stay off that path, and so those distractions don't take you off that. Absolutely.
That's so, and my way of saying that is recognizing your downfall. So we're saying the same. It's incredible how our objectives line up. But I agree with you. And then just recognizing those downfalls. Sometimes it's your own human limitations. Like, for example, if there's something that you have to get done, and it's just human nature that you put off the things that you don't want to do. And you keep putting it off. So now it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, but you want to get it done. It could be like a 20-minute workout that you've put it off. If you've pushed it so far, and if your downfall is you just are a very sleepy person and you just can't do it because it's too late in the day, then you got to recognize your downfalls. So don't prioritize something toward the end of the day if you know that you're a sleep deprived person and you just are no good after like 8 o'clock at night. So that may not be a good example for you, but if you're one of those people that needs 16 hours of sleep, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So recognizing those distractions and those downfalls, not to avoid them, but to build strategies into figuring out how to optimize your day so that you get everything done within your blocks as best as you can, or what you're going to give away or move aside. Absolutely.
Exactly. And Thank you for that, because that also reminded me how even to do a little 30-day habit or even a week habit, there's preparation that goes into that too. You've got to be thinking ahead about, I know on Wednesday I'm going to be tied up from 7 to 9 at night. How are you going to fit those 30 minutes in? And you have to do it, because that's the whole thing with, you can't let yourself slip. You can't say, well, you know what, I rehearsed 2 hours yesterday, so I think that more than makes up for today. Nope. Can't cut corners like that. But the mind wants to, but you've got to be disciplined enough and to hold your ground and say, you know what, I'm going to stick with doing the 30 minutes, get my 30 minutes in, even if I have to stay up late or wake up early. I'm going to get it in somehow. Because I'm telling you, even though your chops are it's not going to make much of a difference with your chops. The mental confidence that you'll get from that and the toughness is just invaluable. Kind of like going to a gym. You go to the gym. Okay, I'll get up and go to the gym this morning. I'll get up early, an hour early, go to the gym. Your body's not going to feel any different. You're not going to have these great results and everything, but your mind will. That'll have the immediate gratification, and that's what you're really trying to get after. Well, that's what I.
Yes. No, you're right. It's been proven. It's been proven. There millions of people who've walked. That's why gyms continue to take off. That's why when Pelotons came out, when people couldn't go to gyms. I mean, people were paying for Peloton subscriptions and buying the crazy Peloton bike for the exact reason that you said.
Yeah. So, and then the last tip, and this is probably the most impactful of all, is start now. Not start today, start now. Start now, because any delay that you put on it is giving you an out. And telling you, you know what, I don't need to start now. Let me wait till Monday. If you wait till Monday, you might start, but you won't finish. So That's the importance of starting now. So if it's urgent, then start now. So that's what I did with the 75 hard. The only reason I waited probably about a week or two, because I needed to understand what the program was and to plan for that, because that was a life changer. Doing all the 5 things that I needed to do for 75 days, I needed to make sure that I was I could actually fit that in a day. So that way, when I got to day 1, I'm like, oh my God, I ran out of the day and I didn't get this stuff done. Right. So those are the tips that I have. What do you have, Will?
No, I mean, I'm with you. I was kind of saying amen to yours. And the only thing that I have to offer that's not so much a tip, but it's like a common sense thing, because I think that your tips are spot on. And we'll go over them in a minute and do our dismount. But the one thing that we also have to mention is so we're talking about this, and in discussion, it sounds really easy. But when you start to put it into practice, you can't predict the dependencies or the distractions. And by dependencies, I mean, well, if you need something to take place before you do something, you have to be a little strategic. You have to know what your overarching goals are, so that you're always moving in the direction of being successful. You're not becoming complacent, or more importantly, you're not becoming just disconnected and just giving up. Because your brain is so powerful that it can just become discouraged, and you'll stop. You'll start to lose the strength that you gained in self-discipline if you're not successful. It kind of feeds itself. So it's one thing to talk about this, but to do it, it's harder to do. So don't be embarrassed to get support. If you need to read a book or join a meetup or get a partner, or one of the things that we chatted about before the podcast is actually working with people and partnering up. And, we were chatting before the program, and I'm like a foot taller than CC. So, physically...
Doesn't look like it.
We're going to approach moving a refrigerator in a whole different way. I mean, she's going to use her brain, whereas I might use brawn. It doesn't matter. Whatever the challenge is, it could be an intellectual challenge. We're different people. We approach things differently. And working with a group, working with support, getting help, having a partner, gives you a lot. It increases your possibility of being successful. So that's the one little piece that I'd like to contribute. Get support. If you think you need support, or if you are not able to start now, then find who it is that you need for support, whatever that is, whether it's a video or a book or prayer, and start now.
Having said that, if there's anybody out there that wants to start any kind of challenge together, because I've done this with people where I found them, hey, for 30 days, let's do something that's just out of our comfort zone. We don't have to be necessarily doing the same thing. I offered that up. Just reach out to me at mpdpodcast@gmail.com. And just let me know what it is you want to do, and we can do it. I'm doing it with myself quite a bit. So like a 30-day 30-minute practice in 30 days. I'm always doing that, and it's been very helpful for me in getting get my chops getting better, because I find myself practicing a lot, but it's usually I'm just learning songs for another gig, and it's usually like a 3-chord thing, but my chops are not really getting better. So it's important that I stay in the game, so to speak, with my chops. So
Yes.
I'm not just randomly pulling the 30 minutes. Now, it could be something else. Now there's a fly in here joining us, but it could be something else. I could do 2 hours a day. It just, whatever makes sense for you, for what you have going on. But feel free to share with me if there's something you would like to do to get started. I'm all happy to hear and help you, guide you along in that way if you'd like. So again, you can find us at MPD Podcast at gmail.com if you want to shoot us an email. MPD Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And
so why don't you one more time just go through your tips, like really quick, one last time before we go?
That's right. Okay, so tip number 1 was establish a habit.
Right.
Okay, so do 60 to 90 days, choose one. I don't know what the latest saying. Some people say it's 90 days, so go with 90 days. Just do it. And then number 2 is to clear distractions. Getting rid of distractions is most important than just putting more things into your life and piling on your plate. Number 3 is to start now. Not today, but now.
Right now. Don't even disconnect. Just go. Like right now. Just go. Go right now. See you later.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. Well, that's going to be it for us.
Yep.
Do you have any parting words of anything for anybody before we go?
Well, I will say that the biggest tip I've always worked, and actually this ties into it, is doing something a little bit uncomfortable every day. So just, social, many of people know my story about the social anxiety. I've struggled with it for years, and I always feel like I always got to stay 10 steps ahead, because I don't think it ever really goes away. You just got to keep working at it every day. And so anyway, shoot us a message if you have ideas for a show, if you want to share your story.
Absolutely.
Let us know, and you know where to find us. All right, so with that, I think that is a wrap for today. And who am I? I'm CC Bass.
You are CC Bass.
See the bassist back there?
And I'm Wil Cameron.
And we are 2 seasoned musicians here to bring you the best tips to help you get to your best musician self. And check us out next time. And check out previous episodes. If there's something you identify with, check it out. And don't forget to subscribe.
It's a good one. Check out Mindset.
Mindset. Yep, goes hand in hand with this one. All right. See y'all later.